Hello, and welcome to episode 24 of Daryl Show Your Work. And in this episode, we will be covering basic SQL injection techniques, where I'll be both discussing them and demonstrating them. And it's going to be two in particular, which is going to be error-based and union-based. All right, so just to always get a disclaimer I give in the beginning of any sort of red teaming session, this is for educational and ethical purposes only. Any sort of malicious activities that this might inspire, I do not claim personal responsibility for. So, with that said, let us get started. All right. So, the first thing that we need to do, we need to navigate to the website that we'll be interacting with on our web browser. All right. And we are going to go to http 192 168 100 and 101. Okay. All right. So once we get here, I am just going to enter in some dummy data just to get us started. All right. All right. If you know, you know. I'm gonna hit submit. All right. All right. So the first type of SQL injection we're going to explore here is error based. All right. So I am gonna enter in a query here inside of the search bar, and then before I hit search, I'm going to explain exactly what's going on. So I'm going to say a single quote order by one dash dash forward slash. Oops, too many forward slashes. All right. So by doing this, what I'm essentially doing is this is order by query. So usually it's order by, and then it's either some type of integer or string. In our case, it's an integer, and then you put dash dash slash slash, and it's used to determine the number of columns in an SQL query's select statement when the exact structure of the query is unknown to us. All right, so we're basically doing this to find out, okay, if there's a database behind here, how many columns does it use? All right, we're just trying to find out that much info, that type of information. We're trying to find that information to see if indeed this site is vulnerable to SQL injection. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to hit search. All right, so it came back, gave us nothing. All right, so I'm going to, instead of just having to copy this in here every time, excuse me, writing this in here every time, I'm just going to paste it in there, and then I'm just going to increment it by one every time. So all right, so we know, at least we know, if this is vulnerable, that it has more than one column. All right, let's keep going. Search. Okay, we know that, if it's vulnerable, that it has at least two columns. Go up by three. All right, we know that it has at least three columns. All right, let's see, it's four. We know that it has at least four columns. Oh, Don't go one, go that far up. All right, do 5. We know that it has at least 5 columns. And we're going to keep incrementing this by 6 to see if we can eventually hit a wall. All right, it looks like 6 was the excuse me, I meant to say we're going to increment it by 1 to see if just to see if we hit a wall. And we just did hit a wall. So it's telling us basically that there isn't a column 6. So now we know that there is a database behind here, and then that database only has 5 columns. Okay. So that's pretty much the basis of error-based SQL injection. And again, we're basically putting in some type of input to return an error to us, so we could begin to then enumerate some details about um, said database that the website that we're interacting is using. All right, so the next part of this is we're going to be exploring union-based SQL injection, and it's the type of SQL injection attack that leverages the union SQL operator to combine the results of 2 or more SQL queries into a single result set. It allows an attacker, which would be us, to retrieve information from the database that they're not authorized to access. So now we're going to kind of step up our game here, and we're going to try to get like some real information, some real data here, and see if we can enumerate the back end of this web page even more. All right, so I am going to, I have some commands written out here. I'm just going to paste this command here just so to ensure that my syntax, me fat fingering anything, doesn't get in the way. All right, so basically, basically by putting in the command that I just put in here, basically I'm basically gonna try to enumerate as much information as possible to try to enumerate some potential users, some tables, some database names. So that's why when you look at, let me scroll back here. So when we look at the line here, all right, so I'm doing a union select here. All right, and I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so I'm trying to see, okay, if I could get maybe like a database name, a username, and then maybe a version of the actual database that is being used. All right, so I'm going to click search and see what it comes back with. And as we see here, we see that the actual database name is SQL training. All right, and then we see that the username for this that has access to the database is user and at, and then we have a host name, local host. All right, so that gives us some good information up front, and then it also tells us the type of database this is using and the version. So let's say if we wanted to go to like Metasploit or Searchsploit and search for exploits of a particular database and database version, we could use this information to search for that and then proceed to use whatever attack on that particular database based upon its type and version. Okay, so let's step up our game a little bit here. All right, let's try to enumerate a little bit more detail here. So we're going to use a more complex query where I'm going to ask for more info. I'm going to try to query more information here. So I'm going to paste that in here because it's pretty long, but I'm going to walk us through what it is that I'm asking for this time. All right. So now I'm asking for table names or column names within those tables. All right, the table schema. information schema, and then I'm trying to get the database associated with it. Okay. All right. So after putting in this command, I'm gonna hit search, and I'm query rather, and it's giving me. See, let's try to run that again. Let's see, make sure we got the right information. Yep, we got the right information. Okay. All right. So it's giving me that clearly there's two different tables here. So these are the tables here where it says product name. So the tables listed here are product and users, and we have multiple entries of those because then we have the type of information that's being stored in that table. And probably the most useful for us here is where it says username and password. So we know that within the user tables, they have columns or they have information pertaining to username and passwords. All right, then we see that the overall database that's housing these tables and information within them is again SQLi training, which we established in our prior query. All right, and so hold on, I'm sorry, give me a minute here. All right, so then now we want to enumerate it even more to try to get. Let's try to take this now that we know that that this database has both usernames and passwords in it. Let's see if we can enumerate that information now to narrow it down. Since we got now we got know that there's IDs, there's usernames and passwords in there. Let's specifically query for that information. All right, so I'm gonna write this time. I'm gonna write it out for us. Well, I'm gonna put um, single quote union select, since this is the type of query we're doing, a union select query. Null, say ID. All right, so we want user IDs or any ID associated with users, and then we want to say user names. All right, then we want to say password, and then we want fname 2, which I believe is for full name. Because remember in the beginning when I was entering that dummy information, um, it asked me for my actual name. So I'm thinking fname is for full name. All right, and then from users, since we know that's the table. All right, so all right here. So hold on, let me finish writing it, and then I'll break it down to you and relate it to what you're seeing on your screen below. All right, then I'm ending the query there. So going back a little bit. All right, so telling it that we want to do a union select query. All right, so we want IDs. All right, so as you can see, looking down on the product type, the type of information it has in it. And then we want username. That's the type of information that it has in it. Password, and then F name. So out of all the information that it returns back to us that's in these particular tables, these are probably the most relevant that we want to know if we're an attacker and want to do some real damage or wanted to do some deeper enumeration. And then all of the information that we're asking for is in the users table. All right, then I'm gonna say from users, which is the table that we want to pull this information from. And then I ended my query there. All right, so I'm gonna hit search and look at there. So we have IDs, all right, and then we have actual usernames, and then we have these are password hashes. All right, so I could then copy these, put it into a text document. And if you remember back from our John the Ripper and hashcat lab, I would then be able to store this in a text document and run that against a John and Hashcats password list to see if I could crack these hashes. But we're not going to do that today. But that's just what I could do with this information. And then also, because also I wouldn't even need to do a brute force of usernames since we already have that, and that just made my job a lot easier. And this would be where the full names would be. It looks like everybody but me actually did not use their full name and just put their username. So my actual name is here. So that now they have like they will have like more personal information on me. Um, but this is I mean this is essentially how union attacks union select attacks work if your web page is vulnerable to SQL injections. So the best way to prevent that is by secure coding, making sure you sanitize your text boxes, have input validation, meaning you do not allowed the use of special characters or any characters that would be allowed in a SQL SQL query, which then would translate to an SQL injection when it comes to using that maliciously. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. Please like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, show your work. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.